How's it going, YouTube? Beelzemon Cups are finally starting to wrap up, but I wanted to show you the deck that I've been playing for quite a while, pretty much since this format has started. I was using it in Ultimate Cup, and if we'd actually had it streamed over in EU, you would have actually seen me piloting it on stream when I was on Table 1. But yeah, I've been using this and took it to Beelzemon Cup, and as you can see, we know. So we're going to go into this deck list finally. So make sure to like and subscribe because it statistically makes you less likely to brick. It's a well-known fact, and it just generally, it makes you a better Digimon player. So without further ado, let's get into the deck profile. Starting off for the eggs, we are going to, we're going to leave the propaganda. We're going to leave this up here. Fifth egg is the Bagramon. It doesn't come up that often. It is just a fifth egg because you sometimes do turbo through your eggs pretty often. And then our other eggs are 4 of Demi-Mirror. Don't want to use the Tokomon or anything like that just because it, honestly, you're not surviving with these eggs long enough. You are kind of playing a rookie rush style where after you've gotten specifically the main rookie off, you're just swinging it into security, getting your draw power, getting your discard, trying to find your pieces as soon as possible, especially because this deck is one of those decks that really does fall apart without seeing its main piece. And the star of the show really is for Soundbirdmon. When attacking, place a purple Digimon underneath one of your Tamers to draw 1, which then will usually proc your Mono in order to draw 1, gain 1 memory, and then it does have save, which will then, after it dies, place itself under the Tamer, and your Demi-Mirror does have to go first on that. Very important that you get your order of operations correct. But this rookie, pretty much if you see this plus a U in your opening hand and you're going first, it is pretty much off to the races. Then for a 2 of, we are running 2 of the cherubimon, all blinged up with a pre-release. This one I've seen people run 4. I only run 2 of because in order to actually get its search effect, you do have to delete it, so it's a less sticky body. In some matchups like Blue Flare, it's actually quite useful because it just takes itself out of the field, so you can't get stunned or proc any of their effects. And it does make itself a 3-drop kind of through you. But all in all, I prefer to run instead the 4 of Tactimon, as it's a stickier body. It's another 4-drop, which is a bit expensive, but it does find 2 targets. It only searches top 4, unlike Jikuri, which searches top 5, but it lets you pick up a Bagra Army Digimon card as well as a Mono. So if you are looking for that Mono, it is quite consistent. It doesn't die to Ultimate Flare, which is nice, but it is kind of expensive. Usually you're using this to pass over if they've got a Memory Tamer. Don't really like dropping it turn 1, but you got to do what you got to do. So for our rookies, we are running 10, which for people that have watched more of my deck profiles, you know that I tend to run 12 in a lot of things. This is the greediest list in this iteration of it. We will be changing our rookie lineup for BT12, so make sure to stick around for that. For champions, we will go with the 3 of Tactimon. This one goes for 1 cost over Digimon, and it does keep your use safe in the Blackwall-Greymon matchup. No Tamer deletion to pop them, and it is decoy for all Bagras, for Bagra Army Digimon. So not only are you keeping your use safe, but it also allows you to prevent a deletion that might take out a Bagramon, for example, if you are committing those bodies to the field. And just to maximize it, we are running 3 of the Digimon. It's a vanilla, so I kind of hate this card. If it wasn't for the fact it makes Tactimon cheaper, I would try and run fewer of them. In fact, I am going to be cutting 1 once we go to BT12, but for now, running 3 of them with that 2 pre-release split. And then for our next champions, we will have the 3 of Tactimon. This card really, really useful in the Bloomlord matchup and against hybrids. It makes people really think about committing their Tamers to the board, because a lot of the times they'll try and do them for cheap, and then you're just taxing them for it. Bodies that are coming to the field for free suddenly do cost them memory, and it can catch people off guard because, especially if you're using the other champions, which usually tax people for 1 memory as a result of other things, sometimes just having the straight 2 cost is enough to throw people off their game, which is very, very useful. Alongside the Tactimon, we are going to be running 2 of the Mad Leomon, the BT10 one. does allow you to keep people's hands small if they're maybe struggling for pieces, aren't quite finding what they're looking for. Every time they add a card to the hand by an effect, you make them trash the same amount that they added, even if they do trash them during that effect. So like something like a scatter mode where they're drawing 3, trashing 2, you're still making them trash a further 3 to keep that hand nice and small. It is also one of the few cards that has a natural digicross of any Bagra army unit. One thing to note is Beelzemon is not Bagra army tagged because they hate us. You can't use it for your digicross stuff unless it's coming from under the Uemano. And we are actually running a full playset of Mad Leomon armed mode. At one point I was running a 3-3 split, but ended up going for the 4 because as much as keeping people's hands small was nice, this deck really needs to see its pieces, and especially early game, if you have a really non-ideal hand, you can do Mad Leomon plus an armed mode and some other Bagra army, digicross for 2 opening turn, and then if they do add anything to the hand by an effect, maybe they open with a memory boost, you're at least getting your cards in your hand back and you're more likely to cycle through. So keeping your hand big, really, really useful, helps you find your pieces. And ultimately I decided to go for that over making sure that I could successfully bully people. So for the champions, we are running a pretty high count, pretty much making up for the lack of rookies because you are digi-crossing from hand most of the time or from under the tamer. So that is 3, 5, 9, 12, 15 champions. Then for ultimates, I know some people choose not to run them, but I actually am just opting for 4 of the Muso Knightmon. It is treated as a Tuarmon as well as a Dark Knightmon, so you can actually just digicross by itself. Like 3 of these in hand does just digicross. It's a bit awkward, but it does work. It does also mean if you don't have a Tuarmon in trash for its effect, you can search itself from trash and treat it as the Tuarmon, which sometimes keeps it safe from de-digivolving, which is quite useful. And the de-digivolve 3 onto Digivolve 1 onto 3 targets, very, very useful. You can also use it to pick up your Sambomons from trash or anything else. Usually pick itself, like other copies of itself up from trash. Usually you don't really want to get stuck here, but if you're going to have to do something, then so be it. You can use it, especially if you are keeping people's hands small, you are keeping people on the back foot. Just try and see if you can get them to, maybe they've been stuck on a level 4, you finally see them go up to level 5, just push them straight back down to 4 or something like that. It can be really, really annoying. But most of the time I actually prefer to digicross it because the 4-cost digivolution over your level 4s is quite steep. You can do the 2-cost over itself because it is a black level 5. Which sometimes is good for cycle or if you're really bullying on de-digivolve, but it doesn't come up very often, and it's a card that I'd understand if a lot of people did try and cut. For the generals themselves, we are running 2 of Lilith. There used to be a Troopmon, but we've chosen to go with 2 Lilith because it does turbo your game plan significantly further. The on-play Trash Fort, and then you take any 2 cards with Bagra tags, including Tamers, from your trash, add them to your hand, which can help you find those use if they are milled early off of some other effect. And then you can also put 2 under a Tamer. So she is a sort of card that actually refunds herself. If you've played them out and you have a U that's already active, then you can just place those sources under the fresh U, which makes her cost effectively 1 cheaper. As well as also being able to really, really punish OTK decks. I've had games in Ultimate Cup where they were setting up and raising because I'd maybe just answered a stack or something like that, and the Lilith comes out, the source is trashed as soon as they move. In fact, it actually won me a game versus Black Bagramon on table 1, where the source was trashed, it put them down to 2, and then swinging once with the wrong stack because they just forgot, cost them 3 memory, lost them the turn, and they got lethal next turn. So I love Lilithmon. Sometimes I do wish I did have the Troopmon, but more often than not, I found that my level 4s that were being spread to the field were just getting answered. Green suspends them, blue bounces them, red deletes them, and most of the time people have answers, so if I was doing it as a desperation move, it didn't work off the time. If I'm going to play aggressively, rather than play 2 cards that don't have rush, I'd rather play the 2 Lilithmons that help me find my pieces. And we obviously have our 1 Blastmon for game. There's no room for hybrids in this. You just use the Blastmon. Most of the time you just send it to the trash knowing that you can bring it back with any number of things, the Muso Flow, the Lilithmon. There's plenty of ways to bring it back. So just the one-off Blastmon, don't need any more than that. And of course, the man in the chair himself, we do have Bagramon, and we are running 3 of them. Reason we got the 1 non-altar is because this card is disappearing back down to 2 in the next set, but for now we are running 3. This card just destroys games. The fact that it shuts down Digivolving is really, really awesome. Most of the time if you're Digivolving on your turn, you can trash the Muso Nightmon because you're not going to be gaining memory back off of it anyway. Trash the top card of their security, punish them for leaving rookies out on the board. But actually, one of the things that helped me win a lot of games, locally, Ultimate Cup, Beelzemon Cup, is when people realize that, oh, I can't go too wide, and they play 1, you can punish them if they have a hand that's oddly specific. One of the games I played against one of the Gallantmons, they used a red memory boost early, I saw 2 Gallantmons, and they bottom deck both of them going for a level 5 piece. And then I played this Bagramon, looked at their whole hand, realized that they only had the 1 Gallant, a Crimson mode, and I'd just seen 2 Gallants go to the bottom of the deck. So I take the Gallant, and they lose their line for the whole game, and I just steamroll them off momentum. So you punish people for going wide, you punish people for staying standard, and you just get that information on their hand as to what you have to play around. I've discarded Magma Bombs when I've gone single stack just to make sure that I can't get answered. And it's just a very, very useful card, sometimes just for the information. And I've actually started dropping him for like 6 cost, like only having 2 cards under a U. Sometimes I'll just drop him even on a single stack just to get that early information and then be able to really play according to their, realizing if they're going to be dropping Tamers to start playing Troopmons as my level 4 of choice rather than the Mad Leomons or the armed modes. So Bagramon, run it as a 3 of, you can run it as a 2, and it's just honestly an amazing card. I'm so glad we finally actually have him. That is all for the level 6s though, no level 7s or anything like that. Bagramon is your top end and you keep him out for as long as possible. Options, we are running 2 Buzzing Fist. I know a lot of people prefer to run multiple, but I find that the way I play, I just don't need too many more than that. It does help you find your U's if you're missing them, but also the fact that it's a 1-drop, effectively, if you haven't procced your U already, you're finding a piece, you're taking something from trash, you're placing it under the U, it's a 1-drop. Very, very, very useful. And from security, playing a U, if you've been indecisive about it, I used to have a problem where I'd always play a U and then hit it in security and then have nothing to play. So now sometimes I keep one in hand if I feel like I haven't seen Buzzing Fist, or at least I haven't confirmed that they're both in the deck. 1 of Cooling because it's at 1, card's busted. If your rookie for some reason decides it has jamming and just refuses to die in security, maybe into All Force, pop it, get all of your stuff going, and because of save it will refund the cost. Or if you've just cleared your board before you digicross anything out, you can just bring the stuff back that you need. Helps you find your Bagras back. Usually I am taking back Sandbirdmons because it's harder to recur them because they're not Bagra tagged. 1 Jack Raid is a more recent change. In games where you do go long, you do end up with a bunch in trash. Maybe you've played Lilithmon. The Jack Raid sometimes is just really nice. I actually stole games as well, obviously hitting it as your Hammer Spark and security, catches people off guard. People aren't really expecting a deck that runs save to bother having something that actually sees stuff go to trash. So Jack Raid is really nice, annoying in security, and also just a very good end card. In fact, in the Blackwall Greymon matchup, I've gained 3 memory off of having 30 cards in trash. It just happens. Running the 1 of Miss Memory Boost. This is mostly just to give you a mem boost, and sometimes it helps you find your piece. Sometimes you'll trash 2 and draw what you need. But ultimately, this could be purple memory boost if you want to see your Digimon more often, but I'm running Mist because it helps also with Jack Raid. Then the card that just straight up robs people at gunpoint. My favorite card in the whole deck, Astral Snatcher. So we run 3 of these. It was 2, but just I've had it rob people in security too many times, so I was like, I gotta see it in security more often. I'm running 3. You get to put 3 Bagras from your trash under a Digimon or Tamer. So if your Bagramons run out of sources, put them under Bagramon. You'll be able to fire his effect off and trash their security as a result. Or you can load up your U, which can memory steal. I have had games where they've been on 0, hit this in security, putting the cards under you guarantees the turn's going to be over. And then sometimes I also, you know, maybe they have a blocker, ends up under the big stack. Maybe they were swinging for multiple checks, not anymore. You end up under your tiny rookie you left out to try and lethal me. Unlucky. Astral Snatcher is fantastic, and it is so funny to see it in security. You just need someone to hit it once to put the Fear of God on them. It is the Chaos Degrade of this deck, and if I could find a way to run more, I would. For the Tamers, we are running one of the ST6 map because you're usually just sending your Soundbird Monster God, so might as well gain some memory back. If you can play it early under the long run, it's a Tamer that you can save even if it's not a U, and you are just going to get that memory back pretty consistently. As soon as it hits the field, it refunds itself in 2 turns. No reason not to run it. And then, because of Ultimate Cup, we are running 2 Matt Ishidas, the BT2 one, which lets you bring back your Astral Snatchers, or your rookie if you're missing something, your Bagramons if they've been milled. It's so flexible on what it lets you do, and it is our memory setter for Ultimate Cup. I was running Heroes initially before I borrowed these. Hero just lets your level 5 Musos stay alive in security, helps your Bagra swing over basically anything in the game, and it doesn't feel too bad to have 2 heroes. If you played one, then you hit another one in security, you can start swinging for basically jamming on Bagra, or, you know, 12k on a body that maybe you're being greedy with an attack. You can run heroes for this, it's what I was originally running, but Matt is so good, and obviously if you're running Ultimate Cup where it has to be monocolor, or Beelzemon Cup where everything has to be purple, Matt Ishida is the guy. But speaking of the guy that we put all our goobers under, no surprise, 4 Uemanos. This deck literally just doesn't function without him, and sometimes you can be the better player and just lose. It just happens. You are outplayed at deck select. It is the risk you play at playing this deck, whether you can just disappear, and so does your game plan. In BT12 we get a new U, and deck consistency goes up, so look forward to BT12 where I will absolutely be showing off some variations on this that make it insanely consistent and very hard to play around, especially for those people that have learned not to drop 2 bodies on the board and trying to play single stack. We have answers to those soon as well, but this is the deck profile. I've been enjoying playing it so much, and obviously you can see it's gotten me the results, so make sure, once again, if you haven't already, to hit that like button and subscribe, and I will see you in the next profile. Peace.